Good morning. Happy Sunday. Happy Easter, everybody. Welcome to the On the Clock Dolphins Draft Podcast here on FTSN. I'm Bobby Fidstalk, joined always by Coach Vogel and Josh Wingate. Let me fix those pictures so it makes a little more sense. Sorry. But yes, hello, everyone. Damien in the house. Daniel, thank you for checking in. Happy Easter to you. We will see you, or you'll see us later when you catch the show again later. But we appreciate the kind words. Elwood, happy Easter at 4:20, everyone. That made us laugh before the show. That's right. That made us laugh. 4:20 be some very happy Christians, as Coach said before. He is risen, and so are we. No, it's like, flying high. No, it's like, but anyway. It's all good. Just make sure I don't. Well, forgive me.
No,
I'm
like
celebrating.
down.
Ended the show a little early for me, But man, we are officially 4
Draft
days?
week.
Oh, it's draft week.
We are in draft
4
week.
days away from the NFL draft. If all the work, all the excitement, all the, I'm going to tell you, this Dolphins mock, I've talked about it a little bit on shows. I haven't revealed it, but on these recent shows, and even my wife yesterday was like, "My gosh, you've been on this computer forever today," and I didn't realize I was, because what I was doing was, first off, I was prepping for this show, I was prepping for yesterday's shows. I got the WrestleMania show later this afternoon. I'm prepping for the draft, and I was just like, I have to do it, and I'm making these picks, but then I'm like, wait a second. I'm looking. Wait, is he going to be there? Is it possibility to be there? It's a possibility. Yeah. And then I'm researching the player a little bit, because when we get a little later, there's guys I haven't seen, so I want to read up on them. This, that, and this. So I was doing a lot of stuff yesterday. So I'm excited about doing it, releasing it today. But also, it was stressful. But before we get into all that, Coach, how the heck are you?
I'm good. I need to step away for a second because somebody just knocked on my door, and there's nobody else up here.
Okay, go ahead.
I apologize.
So we got Coach. Coach will be right back. He'll go open that front door. And then Josh, my man, how are you, brother?
Yeah, doing well. Happy Easter, everyone. Daughter got us up way too early this morning. Excited. The funny thing is, like, for Easter, she's super excited. She gets up early. For Christmas, she's like, she sleeps in, and I'm like, well, I think you have this backwards.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm happy to be able to sleep in on Christmas. But yeah, I'm tired.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's Easter. So you go sleeping on Christmas. It's Easter, so you are tired. You're a little ahead on your holiday, but that's okay. But man, it's a week away. First off, good morning to Scotty, my favorite trio. He says, "Thank you, Scotty. We appreciate that, my man." Damian, Paul Heyman, you're a dirtball. Hey, that was an awesome main event and an awesome finish for WrestleMania Night 1 yesterday. For those who do watch it, I know Josh Kimmel and I will be on. Josh Kimmel and I will be on later to talk about that and see what Josh thought of that. But as we get prepared for night 2, so much to discuss. Again, no kind of, a lot of will there be a trade? Will there not be a trade? And this just goes over on round 1. But this is the longest the NFL draft, even before the draft, has not had a trade. So it'll be interesting to see if there will be a trade on draft night. But we will know a trade will eventually happen, at least for the Miami Dolphins. And forgive me, because I'm just as tired as you. I have 4 hours last night, 5 hours today. As much sleep as I can. So I don't know if we have discussed this, and I know I've discussed it in plenty, but I don't know if you guys have been on since the whole Jalen Ramsey situation. So remind me if you have already discussed this. If you haven't, I'd love to get your thoughts.
We talked about it last week, didn't we?
Did we? Yeah. I wonder if we. When did this come out? It's the 15th. That was on Tuesday. So we didn't. We talked about the possibility of it. Okay. So Chris Greer had his press conference. Jalen Ramsey and the Dolphins have decided to part ways. They're going to start seeking a trade partner. We had talked about it because Jalen Ramsey, there was kind of like a little bit of a tease that something may come down. Of course, everybody thought Tyreek, and we were like, well, what about Jalen Ramsey? That becomes what looks like it's going to be. And if he is traded, become a dire need. So, Coach, very quick, I know we kind of discussed this last week, but now that it's official that Miami's going to look for a trade partner, where do you stand on that situation? And does that change at all your mindset going into round one and pick 13 for the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, I definitely think that that's where the guys that we were talking about before the show started. I think that's where the discussion comes in. If those if the tackles are there, and some of those cornerback safety guys, I think you definitely have to have a serious conversation about at what point what is more the better option, right? And if one, I can't remember which one it was, but it might be the kid from Texas, that was a for sure tackler, coming downhill, didn't miss tackles very much, a good open field tackler. Those are guys, those are strong possibilities for me. Somebody that's good in the open field and is not going to miss easy layup tackles, and where the guy goes, 40 yards for the touchdown because we can't tackle in the open field. So you want some of those. And I know that Greer had also said you definitely want guys that can come in day one play. And I know not a lot of people listen to what Greer says because they're tired of it.
No, it is, and
I agree, Scotty.
The press conference was revealing, yet didn't really help anything with what he was trying to say, and did not make Miami look good at all. But Josh, now that we got confirmation what's going to go down, at least what they're going to try to do, because he said, he's like, it couldn't happen. We know AJ Brown was traded on draft night. Don't be surprised if that happens. We will see. Your reaction when it was official, like with your mindset as an outside looking in for Miami, did that change anything about pick 13 for you or the draft strategy for the Dolphins? And well, first, Leah, let's start with that.
So I saw like the outside of the news story. I just want to ask a clarifying question real quick. Is it more so like does Ramsey want out, or is it just the Dolphins want to get like
no? Well, Chris Greer said that this was a mutual decision. However, Jalen Ramsey did not ask to be traded. He did not ask for a restructure of a contract or renegotiate his deal. My inkling of it all is that this has probably been brewing for a while. And I think that Jalen Ramsey probably went to Miami early on and said, hey, look, what's the plan here? Because I came here to win. We had a lot of high hopes, right? But now you have this situation. Well, first, Terron Armstead retires. Calais Campbell goes to Arizona. Tyreek is in the news. All that. What's the plan? What are you guys looking to do? Or and when he saw Terron retired and Calais and all this, what happened? I think that's when he's like, "What's the deal?" And they said, "We don't know what the deal is yet. It's whatever. Maybe it's best that we move on." And that's what they're doing. So, and I saw Chris comment there. We'll respond about the Cam Smith thing, but before that, Josh. So now that I don't know if that offers any kind of clarity, but that's my mindset of what's going down.
It tells me that I feel like Greer is still safe. Like, how are you willing to trade away a piece like this and not be safe? Like, if you weren't, you're trying to win now, and Jalen Ramsey is that piece that is in win now. So it tells me nothing's changed for Greer. I mean, if you can move on from him and still get a really nice piece, great. But yeah, it like outside looking in as someone that has some knowledge to how the organization is kind of ran and how things are going. The thing that scares me the most of losing Jalen Ramsey is that if Greer is willing to do this, that he's safe.
Yeah, it's a great point because you would think having to rely on Cam Smith, possibly a rookie corner. You got rid of Terron Armstead. You got rid of your Calais Campbell's going to leave. You didn't get rid of Armstead. He retired, and the other one went somewhere else. But you're basically starting off with the foundation you had prior to all these moves. But minus Tyreek Hill, who might get traded to. Who knows what happens with him? Even though we know more than likely it won't happen because of the cap hit, but it could. So, but you're gonna Tua, Waddle, it's like kind of starting from scratch, and they don't want to admit it's a reset. But if you are Mike McDaniel and you've failed expectations and you're Chris Greer and you joked about it, he joked about it at the press conference that the fans are not happy with him. He knows the fans are pissed, and he said he got a t-shirt that said "Don't F this up" from a fan, and that. But then you go into it going, damn, dude, we're not going in as strong as we were 2 years ago, last year. And obviously last year was a failure. So it is interesting. And it makes you think when he's willing to make this type of move, hey, maybe he has some security going, hey, but at the same time, it's like, you got to deal with what you deal with and hope for the best. Maybe that's a situation. Chris Jones says, I fear Greer still believes in Cam Smith. He's another Noah Igbenogany. Cam Smith, first off, we never know what happens when a guy's drafted. We have grades, draft grades, whatever, and we may have a 3rd round grade, a 4th round grade, and then a guy gets drafted in the 1st round. Doesn't mean, it's just people's grading, right? But because a guy's who we had a graded 3rd round and he gets drafted in the 1st or the 2nd round, doesn't mean that guy's going to be a bust. That guy could turn out to be very good, right? I do believe that Cam Smith was overdrafted. I think we all felt that when that happened, but you're like, hey, you know what? They get paid. They get paid the big bucks. We'll wait and see how it plays out. He has not lived up to those expectations. The first year was Vic Fangio, right? Oh, was it Vic Fangio? Did he give an opportunity? Last year he was absentee, and then you hear what Chris Greer is saying and saying, hey man, we're not going to hold your hand anymore. This is it. You got to step up. So that does tell me that we should expect a bigger role for Cam Smith this season. He may have to fill that Jalen Ramsey role. I will say that before all this was coming out, I already had corner on my top list of like, hey, who to look at, what corners to look at, maybe at 13, because I still think there's 2 corners that are BPA if they're there in that type of situation, if the board falls the way it falls. So we'll go from there. Let me ask you, yesterday we did a fun experiment. We had a great episode yesterday morning for me. Fids Talk Today with Fish Tank Hank and George of the Fins Faithful podcast. So just shout out to George on the Fins Faithful podcast, guys. If you guys, Coach Josh, if you guys have not got to see George's stuff, go ahead and whenever you have a chance, go check him out. Fins Faithful podcast. He and Jason starting on Thursdays, they got the on-season. They got great draft content, great interviews. George does his homework. If you guys have not gone and checked that out yet, and those in the comments, go to the Fitz Faithful podcast, subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and go check out his stuff. Awesome dude, awesome content, awesome knowledge. So we did a thing yesterday that was a lot of fun, and that was your top 5 preferred picks for Miami. Realistic, right? I mean, obviously, if an Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter is sitting there, obviously he's like, oh, that dude's number 1, that guy's number 2. But more than likely, those guys won't be there. Could it happen? Sure, anything happens on draft night, but realistically, more than likely they're not. So, Coach, I'll start with you, and I know it's probably gonna be all 5 offensive linemen, but I know you won't. But anyway, who are your top 5 preferred picks? Like, you're like, man, like I know you could get behind most anybody, really. You might have a question if someone gets drafted, but you could talk yourself into supporting whoever's the pick. But like for you going into night 1, pick 13, who are the 5 guys that are like, man, if Miami can come away with one of those guys, I'm going to be happy.
Yes. I mean, obviously the 2 offensive linemen that we have high. I think the cornerback from Michigan, the D tackle from Michigan. My names are terrible for me today. I can't pick anybody's name. And then if somebody were to fall, like I don't know, if Genty were available at 13, like is he too good to pass up on? That 5th one is just somebody. If the lineman, the defensive fellow from Penn State. I'm telling you, my brain is racked right now. I can't think.
You're good.
Carter?
Yeah, if Carter were to fall to 13, like run to the board with him.
Yeah.
So obviously the 2 offensive tackles I'd be really happy with. Even if the wide receiver is it Arizona?
Ted McMillan?
Yeah, McMillan. If McMillan were there, I don't know though. We've tried that experiment before and it didn't work very well. So I think having an offensive lineman, defensive lineman that can start immediately, or either the two safety cornerback guys that we've talked about, I think would be good on my board.
Gotcha. All right, Josh, same question, man. Top 5 preferred picks at 5 for Miami. You know, realistic, I guess.
Realistic. I
Anything can
think,
happen, but
yeah, like I agree with like one of the offensive linemen, and that'd be like Will Campbell and I'm pulling a coach here. Um, my guy here, his name is Kelvin Banks. I would be comfortable enough taking Kelvin Banks at 13. I think he is going to be. I like watching a little bit of Will Campbell, watching a little bit of Kelvin Banks. I think I have Kelvin Banks ahead of Will Campbell.
I do
me too. I
Um,
do too.
so I'm more comfortable with that. I think Will. I don't think there's a true top tier offensive tackle in this class.
No.
I would put Will Campbell if I am Miami at guard and
Yep.
do the same thing as like a flex guard that can pop out the tackle. So those would be my two. Um, I haven't watched this guy, but he's highly rated. So I would say Kenneth Grant. I think someone that can plug the middle for this team. I think that's a huge need on the defensive line. You have, I feel like, one person that can continue on and kind of just be that player that just continues and plays well at the right defense end. You have two other positions on the defensive line that needs to be filled, as well as I think a cornerback like we've talked about. So my other guy is going to be, I would say Travis Hunter, but I don't think he's going to be there. I'm going to say Jade Barron, the
Barron, yeah.
cornerback out of Texas.
Yeah.
Someone right there. A lot of people are high on who's the other cornerback this year?
Kid
Will
from
Johnson.
Michigan.
Yeah, Will
Yeah.
Johnson.
I kept wanting to say Howard, and I knew that wasn't right.
I
so.
feel like a lot of people are
Johnson,
falling
yeah.
off on Will Johnson.
Yeah.
Will Johnson was the top tier guy. Barron is starting to be that number one guy in this process. So
I just love how that comes around. That was my thing. I kept saying, and not that again, Will Johnson he's a superstar corner. He's better take 23, but he's done it all. We know who he is. The major concern I have with Will Johnson is the injury history.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which player? It's football, right? We know injuries, but still, I mean, broken tibia, a concussion, ankle sprain, a hamstring injury. Went under knee surgery in the spring of 23 and 24. He suffered a shoulder injury that forced him to miss the game. Missed the remainder of the season with a turf toe injury, and he was ruled out of the Michigan Pro Day due to a hamstring injury.
And that's why you consider Barron over him.
No,
right? No,
I don't. No. I remember I wasn't paying attention to that. I pay attention to the film because the film. So player. When healthy, I think Johnson would be a great player. But I love Barron. I love what I've seen of Barron. His motor, everything about him is and what he can do. And again, look at
So you're saying Johnson above Barron?
I have Barron above Johnson.
Okay.
Travis Hunter, Barron, Johnson. That's my top 3. Travis Hunter, Barron, Johnson as defensive backs. And that's watching film, man. I just, guys, about me, I'm huge into motor. That kid has a nonstop motor all over the field, sideline to sideline. He lined primarily outside on the boundary last year, but he's played in the slot. What is it like? Let me see. 660 snaps outside corner last year, 893 snaps in the slot, 475 in box, 51 at deep safety. He's press, zone, he does it all.
Yeah.
Last year, let me see. What was the? I know some people love this, some people don't. I don't care. It's just something. But his PFF coverage grade led all corners. Even Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter was 90.3. Jade Barron was 91.1. His numbers last year is primarily outside boundary. played 971 snaps. He had 541 coverage snaps, 37 receptions off 68 targets, 54.4% completion rating, only allowed 284 yards, 0 touchdowns, 5 INTs. And of course, you go year by year, and then that's just numbers. But if you watch the film, to me, no, it's not injuries that put Barron over Will Johnson. The film, the player do it. I love Will Johnson.
But what I'm saying though is if you're in the draft room,
one
of the things that I'm considering is the injury history. But I'm also I agree with you that I would take Barron over him off the board anyway. I'm just saying that injury for me, like with Tate Radledge, I knocked him down because there was a lot of film that I watched that he wasn't in there. So I would definitely take Barron over Howard.
On Johnson, yeah.
Yeah, Johnson. See, I did it again.
It's all right. It's okay,
Somebody
man.
was saying Howard earlier and something else, and it threw me off.
That's okay. They were talking about Cam Smith. It's not Xavier Howard, which
there you go.
But again, if Miami comes away with Johnson, let's say Miami makes that pick. This guy, if healthy, right,
Yeah.
and most people's minds is a top 5, top 10 pick.
Right.
You get him at 13, and if he could stay healthy, even though we keep talking about injuries, and that just screams Chris Greer, right?
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, it's not health is a problem. But if you get Will Johnson, you could sleep comfortable because you're getting a player when healthy is one of the best prospects in this draft. But to me, Barron, if I don't know, dude. I don't know what much more I could say about Barron. I just love his film, and I just love. I think he'll be a damn good football player next year. Damn good. I think he'd be a home run hit. So, but obviously, top 5 for me. Now we're saying it. Obviously, Barron, Will Johnson, Will Campbell, and Calvin Banks for the same reason you guys said. Even though I'm comfortable passing on offensive line at pick 13, thinking we could get a guy later, I think Will Campbell and Banks sitting there, and I'm with you. I got Calvin Banks over Will Campbell, but those are two guys that you could, plug at left guard or right guard, whatever you want to do. Who cares? Plug at guard and give Patrick Paul a shot. And if Patrick Paul does not live up to those expectations that you would hope he can, then it's an easy push them on the outside, let them start at tackle. And now you got that insurance policy, and then you have a good backup tackle, I guess, or, whatever with Paul. So that has to be considered. Obviously, Ashton Genty, if he's there, you got to consider him. Tyler Warren is one. A guy that I have softened a little bit on Kenneth Grant, but I know a lot of people are on that, and again, we talked about this yesterday, and I thought I was crazy when I started thinking about it and I started watching it, and I was like, because a lot of people say 13, but when I started, I'm like, man, I think you could move down a little bit and get him. But then when I went and looked, there was people that had him in the top 5 to Jacksonville, and then there's other ones who had him in the start of the second round. So he's all over the board. Mason Graham, of course, if Mason Graham's that guy, if he's there, you have to consider him. But defensive tackle, we talked about this yesterday. Other than Mason Graham, I think there's a very small gap between everyone else. There's no real distance between everybody else. Like you could go and say, let me just grab Norman Lott, who's a good player, Norman Lott, or Alfred Collins, or Stewart, or whatever, Turner. I mean, there's guys all over the board that you could get in the second, third round, and they're not too far off from each other. But yeah, and I mean, obviously though, like Coach said, though, if Abdul Carter's sitting there for whatever reason, one crazy reason, if he has a Laramie Tunsil type of situation, or a Travis Hunter, like Josh said, if one of those guys are there, you run to the board. You don't even think twice about it.
I think you're already traded up for them.
Yeah. You have to do it at that point.
You're not giving it the opportunity for them to
yeah, Russ, absolutely right. Russ Morgan is right. D tackle is deep in this one. I'm not. Let's see. The knack on Tua, Armstead, Jackson, Phillips was the injury history. Hasn't that come to cost us? 100%. It has, right? And I get that. And that's why for me, it's something that has to be considered too. I will say though, that's what Greer loves. For whatever reason, that's his forte, right? But that is something where you would want to go somewhere else with that. But we'll see how that plays out, man. We'll see how it plays out for Miami.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mess up his last name.
Emeka Ibuka.
Yeah, he was a guy that was considered to come out last year. We all evaluated him last year. We looked at him. I thought he was a really good player. This year, he had a good year last year. Probably one of his better years as more stalwart in the offense. Um, why is he falling? Like, is the talent above him so much higher? He's considered to be what, the fourth wide receiver in this year's draft for like most. What? Why is he falling? Because I think he'd be an amazing fit in this offense. Um, what do you guys think about him and why?
I don't know why he's fallen off, to be honest with you. Like when you watch the film, he looks like the same receiver from Ohio State last year.
Yeah.
Was the difference? Well, I don't know. You'd figure that his film would have gone up a little bit this year, considering, they had all that talent last year.
Yeah.
But he's the same receiver, in my opinion.
I think it's like kind of like with the D tackle. I know a lot of people talk about McMillan. I talked about this yesterday too. I know a lot of people talking about McMillan in being that, for Miami fans. Oh, he's this guy. He's this big. We need him at 13. I could see him falling. I could see Golden going above him. I could see that happening. You're not saying it's going to. That's something. I think that's what's received. Like you were just saying. Like, wait a second. Emeka, right? I'm butchering it. I know I'm going to butcher his last name, so I'm going to say his first name. Ibuka. He's a guy that he's another guy that can go in the top 15 or go 25 or fall in the second round. And you're like, damn, wait a second, this guy's a stud receiver. I think there's gonna be a lot of good receivers that we're gonna be surprised that maybe there'll be a guy that jumps, maybe gets drafted a little early, and you might go, that guy was taken that high, and there might be a guy that you thought was gonna be taken in the top 15 that's gonna be in the top 30, picks, or gonna fall into the 40s, and how's that guy still there? Because you got Lurther Burden. It's just, I feels like with the D tackles, there's going to be some good guys still on the board at some point in time that we're going to be surprised. Why are they still there? How did they get that far? I wouldn't be surprised if Ibuka is overdrafted in some people's eyes, or even underdrafted, like Josh is saying. Like, how is he still? Why is he falling? Why does it look like he's getting picked this late? I will say, like, I know Stager, who's a Green Bay Packers fan, loves that kid and would love to have him in Green Bay. Russ, you got a question there. He says, Josh, Russ Morgan has a question for you. He says, who would you want at 12 for the Dallas Cowboys?
I think, that's hard.
Would you want Marion Hampton, McMillan?
I don't want to run it. I'm not a big believer in drafting a running back early.
Yes, you are.
I'm not.
It's going to happen.
I'm not a big believer.
Yes, you are.
Dallas is. I'm not. I feel like you can get really good running backs late.
Yeah, there's some good ones.
Yeah.
And then I'm a big believer in the trenches.
Yes.
Yep.
But Dallas, it's hard for Dallas to draft someone in the trenches that they need at that position, because they're probably looking at a Kenneth Grant who came from Michigan. Dallas has not had luck with Michigan defensive tackles. So I always say, like, you have to tell the story to the fans as well. That's not going to be something you can sell to the fans. I think I think wide receiver or cornerback is going to be that. If a cornerback is there available or wide receiver is available, I think that's what you do for Dallas. Ted McMillan would be a really good pick for Dallas as well. I think they already have the speed. I think they need that big body.
Yeah. Scotty says, Malachi Starks is that player for me, Bobby. I was fine taking him at 13. I would be fine, but some mocks have him available at 48. That's what's crazy, right? I mean, and that's why, like, you got to go based off what you've seen, what you believe. And that's the other thing. It's like Malachi, first off, and Scotty's aware of this, like Nick Almonrari, I have above Starks, but Malachi Starks is a damn good football player. First of all, and he's from Georgia, which we know.
Go Dogs.
Chris Greer loves Georgia. I wouldn't sleep on Malachi Starks at 13, even though Miami signed 2 safeties. I wouldn't sleep on a safety at any spot at 48, whatever. If he's sitting there at 48, how can you ignore that? I was struggling going, looking at Xavier Watts in some mocks, and I was reading reviews, and I was like, hey, would he actually be there? He actually could go earlier. But Xavier Watts at 48, if he's sitting there, that's a guy I would strongly consider. I don't care what you do at 13. If you got a corner already, you get that guy because now you're a killer. And the same thing with Malachi Starks. Xavier Watts is talking about Malachi Starks. I highly doubt he's going to be there at 48. Now, again, drafts are crazy, right? We always say, oh, there's no way that guy's going to be there. And then he's there, and you're like, what the hell? The most recent memory for me was the tight end out of Georgia, Darnell Washington. I thought, he was available at the pick for Miami in the second round. He was available at the other, you know what I mean? But it's like, that happens. Shedeur Sanders, number one quarterback in the college. He's gonna be number one in the draft. And now look, we're talking about him possibly slipping past the Saints slipping past the Browns and the Giants and going to the Saints, or maybe not even then, it's just crazy. But Malachi Starks, he's played a lot of football. He's a lot of experience. He's a damn good safety. I think you could plug him in at nickel.
He's a great put him anywhere.
You speak to it. You're a Georgia fan, so talk about Malachi Starks.
Yeah, Malachi Starks. I think one of his first games ever at Georgia, he had an interception, might have been a pick six. He's great. Like, you can play him anywhere on the offensive line or in the secondary offensive line.
I didn't have him listed. I didn't have him listed in that top 5. But if Miami was to come away with a Malachi Starks at 13, let's just say if that was the pick at 13, I can't see why anybody would be upset.
Right.
You're getting another damn good football player. You're getting a football player.
The big thing about him, exactly. He has football IQ. Like, he knows where to be and where the play could go. So he's ahead of it. I think Malachi Starks is just that dude. I do.
Two different type of players.
Yeah. Well, Tyndall, I liked Tyndall was very limited what he could do well.
Yes.
Tyndall was a straight line runner. If he had to move side to side, that's where he was affected. So, I mean, going into the NFL, like, obviously you have to go side to side. He wasn't that. If you put him in as a, let's say, pass situation rusher,
straight downhill,
he can get the job done. But other than that, there wasn't much of a role for him. Malachi Starks, I think you could throw him, put him anywhere. I'd love him at safety, but if he needs to play nickel, he can do that. He can play in the box. He can do a lot of things. He can kind of be like that Swiss Army knife for you. I love Starks.
There you go. So let's talk about this. Let's get into this, man. Again, shout out to everybody who's watching right now, wherever you're watching from. We appreciate you spending your Easter morning with us. If you already hunted for your eggs or have gone to service or doing whatever you're doing and you're taking this time or you're doing this beforehand, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Again, just a reminder, the draft is on Thursday night, the start of the draft. The three of us will be back on live for the start for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Saturday in some parts, we won't start it off on. I will start it off on Saturday, but the guys will probably pop in here and there. But Thursday and Friday, they will be with me to start it off. So there you go. FTSN Pro Football Draft live coverage show, starting with Josh Wingate, Coach Vogel, and myself. Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, round 1. Then Friday, we'll start at 7 p.m. Eastern time for rounds 2 and 3. Then Saturday for the finale, 4 through 7 at 12 p.m. Eastern time. The Pro Football Draft live coverage show here on FTSN, sponsored by Caneswear. For all those who are tuning in from start to finish, participating in the comments, you will have a chance to win a Caneswear gift card towards the end of the show. We will pick one winner each day to win a Caneswear gift card. Caneswear, of course, your shop for all Miami sports teams, from the Dolphins, the Miami Hurricanes, the Heat, the Marlins, the Panthers. They've got it all. 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida. They've celebrated 15 years. Awesome partner to the network. They got a great show here on the network as well, the Caneswear Podcast, where they cover the Miami Hurricanes football team, Miami Hurricanes sports, not just football team, excuse me. But if you're anywhere other than South Florida in Davie, like Josh Wingate or Coach Vogel or myself, or outside that area, and they want something, they're like, man, I would really love to have that. If Josh Wingate's like, man, screw
the Cowboys,
the Phillies, Screw the Cowboys. I want Dolphins. Screw the Phillies. I'm going with the
I give my
Marlins.
wife a gift. She's a Dolphin.
There you go. Canesware.com. Canesware.com. And I'll tell you what, the service is fast. They ship it out right away. The team, Brett and the team are awesome. So go check them out. But let's get into it, man. So, we did kind of which was a lot of fun. Last week, we did a round 1 mock draft and went pick. I had a pick. Josh, coach, we kind of went. And my goodness, Josh started off with a bang. He had the second pick. He took Jackson Dart for the Browns, kind of threw everything up. And then coach, the other picks were a little bit surprising, but coach blew it all up when he went Curtis Wark with the Pittsburgh Steelers pick later on in round 1. So that was a lot of fun. I kept talking about that throughout the week. Like, that was a fun experiment. And you know what? This shows you how crazy the draft could really be. But now today, we did this separately. We did our Miami Dolphins 7-round mock drafts. So Josh did his, coach did his, I did mine. Trades were, of course, allowed. I think I said 1 or 2 trades. I'm not sure, but I know trades were allowed. And so there were some trades to be made on a couple of these boards, but I'll tell you what, I just love, I got the guys haven't seen each other's. I've seen obviously all 3 because I have to do the graphics for it. So I'll tell you what, I just love it. I just find it intriguing. So I can't wait to talk about it, and let's get this going, guys. Yes, the Heat are going to win tonight. They're going to pull off the upset.
Go Pacers.
Okay, let's get coach out of here. Hold on a second, guys. But let's go ahead and drop this here, and we're going to start off with coach. I think this is coach's one first, right?
Let's see.
We already know who's winning the NBA championship, so let's chill out, guys.
Oh my!
Oh, there's Josh.
There's coach. There's coach.
Orlando Magic.
Coach.
All right, coach. This is your thing. Let me put you right here. Get your face in there. There you go. There you go. Styling and profiling, my man.
That's right.
All right, hit us up, brother. Tell us about your picks.
Well, obviously, I went O-line at 13 because I believe we need to build the trenches until we don't. And then at 48, Jalen Milroe was still on the board, and I feel like he's too good of a talent to pass up to either be the backup quarterback or to eventually be Tua's replacement. You could even package him in some form. And then honestly, the rest of the board for me, just kind of how the picks came about. To me, I kind of went best player available, depending on positions that we needed. So Aronde Gadsden at pick 99, and then Savion Williams. I believe I checked; he's like 6'5", 220. So that's that big body wide receiver. And then I took Jack Kaiser out of Notre Dame at linebacker. Jordan Phillips, another D tackle. Garrett Dellinger, LSU. I took Riley Mills out of Notre Dame as another interior defensive lineman. And I went Shiloh Sanders, safety out of Colorado, who is still there at 224. And then Ja'Cory Brooks, who's another big-bodied wide receiver out of Louisville, to round out the thing. I think my overall grade was like a B, and it said that I drafted for need. So there it is. That's every position I think we need. I tried to put at least 1, if not 2 people per position.
So just again, let me obviously Calvin Banks, we've talked about this in regards of his option, being there at 13. If Miami were to take him, that option of possibly what you can do with him, obviously starting him in a guard, you could push him out the tackle if it doesn't work out with Patrick Paul. The Jalen Milroe pick, it's so intriguing for me because this is a guy who is going to, first off, he did fly to Green Bay. He will be in the green room. Does he have any kind of notion he will be taken in the first round? But if somehow, some way he's at 48, I would be intrigued by him. I would be looking at his name, and if Miami's come away with it, I think this is a player that you could sit behind Zach Wilson, sit behind Tua, let him develop. And I mean, he is big size, athletic. He big arm. Obviously, I know accuracy issues, but still, very intriguing pick. Savion Williams is a guy that I know some people have brought up. It took me a while to get to him. But I kept seeing his name pop up in the comments, and I was like, okay, I got to watch this kid. And I'm very intrigued by Savion Williams out of TCU. Uh, Wildcat guy. I mean, can do the running back role, could play receiver. I'm not a big fan of his hands because a lot of times I saw bounce off his hands, but he's the size. I think he's 6'4", 6'5", 200 some odd pounds. I mean, so he has that body. He's what you want. He's a very intriguing option, and he fits what a Mike McDaniel offense, a gadget Swiss Army knife type player. So I'm very intrigued by that pick. Josh, what are your thoughts on Coach's mocks?
I mean, obviously, I like Kelvin Banks. That's my guy. Jalen Milroe, I'm less on than most people. I think a lot of people are elevating Jalen Milroe just because of the Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott type player. I just don't. I think his accuracy could be a big issue at the next level, but we'll see. I mean, a lot of issues with Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts with accuracy as well. So, but I think this is a little bit deeper. We see that we get a lot of Notre Dame. We knew we were going to get that with Vogel. Jordan Phillips, I really like, especially at 150. I think he's a really good defensive tackle that could play well for Miami. And it doesn't hurt getting that little Sanders in there as well because, I mean, it's Miami. You got to get the microscope a little bit deeper, right?
That's right, 100%. All right, let's move on to Josh's Finn's mock. Let's see how he does on there for you guys as we pop in. It looks like a trade was made. So there we go. Josh, man, take it away. What happened here?
Yeah, I saw so many players available, and I was like, none of a lot of the guys that I was like, do you know what, I'm going to stick and stay, were gone. So I was like, I'll move back a little bit. I think Will Campbell was there. I think Kelvin Banks obviously was there. I can't think of I think Will Johnson was there. But I decided to move back because the offer was just too good. I get a second round pick. I gave up, I think, a fifth round pick in this aspect and move back. Let's see what's available there. Because there's a lot of players I liked, but not a lot of players I was willing to just stick and stay for. So moved back, got Kelvin Banks Jr. We've talked about him, how much I like him as that guy that could play guard, transition to tackle if need be. Then round 2, Alfred Collins was there. We've talked about him as well, as far as someone that could play that left defensive end. I wasn't the biggest on him when we evaluated him, but for someone that can play, and this is second round, I'm a little bit easier on him for, but someone that could play the left defense end, stop the run. He's really good at stopping the run. So go with him, maybe develop him into something else as well. Then we got Mason Taylor, which I will say the mock draft simulator absolutely hated that I took Mason Taylor here.
Mason Taylor, and I want to stop you there very quick because Scotty's asking, Josh, who did you pass on taking Taylor at 49? Who was there that gave you pause? Great question.
I can't remember exactly who was there, to be honest with you. I want to see if I can pull up my mock draft, but I don't know if it saves it. But I just saw Mason Taylor there. I knew tight end was a big need, so I just went Mason Taylor, to be honest.
That's all right.
We then traded back. I knew I needed to get a cornerback. Dorian Strong was there. He's someone that could play really good press. I know his athletics weren't the greatest, 4.5 40. But he's someone that just played really well at Virginia Tech, and film matters more than the combine. So went with Dorian Strong there. JJ Pegas. I went defensive tackle, big body guy, someone that could stop the run, play nose tackle. Logan Brown is someone that could kind of be that swing tackle for Miami. I doubled down on that offensive line because depth. We've talked about the depth for Miami. Yep. That needs to happen.
I like that pick.
And that's building this out. Quinn Ewers, quarterback, he was there. He's visited Miami. I feel like get that guy in here. I think he's someone that has developed fairly well at Texas. Early on, having really big issues with accuracy kind of honing them in a little bit. I think he still has a lot of room to develop. So having him behind Zach Wilson and learning the game is really good. Ricky White, a wide receiver. These are just, we're in round 7, so we're just throwing traits around.
Yeah.
Like this guy
Yep.
has traits.
Yep.
Played really well at UNLV. Teddy Buchanan, linebacker. Linebacker's another need. A faster guy who can kind of play sideline to sideline, but can develop. Joshua Gray was considered could go a little bit earlier just because he has the talent. He just moved around the offensive line a little bit. Tackle, he didn't play so well. This year moved to guard, played a little bit better. So he has room to develop. And then Jackson Meeks, wide receiver, another guy, went to Georgia, transferred to Syracuse, could play really well. He's just someone that didn't have the chance to show early on in his career, played well at Syracuse. Let's see what he does later in his career.
There you go. So again, we've talked about Calvin Banks. Let's start at 48 with Alfred Collins. This is a guy that for myself, again, when I was doing the homework on D tackles, I had plugged in at 48 for a while, and I started watching more, and I'm like, hey, you might be able to get a guy later. He might be there later on. It's going to be, there's a lot of probably, again, good players that we think could go higher that might be there at picks that we didn't expect to be picked. So, but Alfred Collins, like you said, very good run defender, big body. A lot of Texas in here, right? We got 3 Texas. I know, for me, I felt like that too. I was like, for a while, it was a lot of Texas on my mock, and I was like, my goodness. And not that it can't happen, right? Because it's just the players, that are there, that are available. Logan Brown, love that. Love that you double dipped on offensive line. Again, Calvin Banks started guard. Logan Brown, you could plug in at backup tackle, and this is a guy who could be a rotational piece if something was to go down. I like that. Quinn Ewers, intriguing, right? He supposedly had dinner with Miami. Another quarterback goes in this mock as well. So I think it could happen. Miami has shown interest in quarterbacks. They've met with Jalen Milroe. They've had dinner with Quinn Ewers. They met with Tyler Shaw. They went to his pro day. Curtis Work. They've met with those guys. So it would not surprise me if Miami was to come away with one of these. Quinn Ewers at one point was supposed to be a first-round pick, was supposed to be a top 10, top 5 pick. That was just a couple of seasons ago when he was that guy. Whatever happened. He fell way off. And so, to get him at 150, this is a guy that it's not like, oh, he's the future. No, but this is a good developmental piece that you could get. And for Miami, that if and when Tua goes down, and if Zach Wilson is what the NFL thinks he is after what happened with the Jets, you plug in Quinn Ewers. If the season is lost, okay, let's see what we got. And then what if he shocks the world and he plays great, where you're like, hey, we don't need a quarterback next year, if that was the case. Or, hey, you know what? He doesn't. You got yourself a developmental guy. He's your third. He's your second. And you move forward. I like it. At 150, I like it. Mason Taylor, that's the intriguing one, right? First of all, pedigree. Jason Taylor's son,
lineup draft,
legacy pick. But what does he offer? I understand that, there'll be questions that are like, oh, well, like, Scotty asked. I don't have the comments in front of me right now, but Scotty asked earlier, who was there? Well, that's not there right now, but let's see why Miami would do it. First off, Miami is looking at tight end. They've met with Mason Taylor. He could block. He's not a perfect prospect. This is not a guy that, is going to change the face of your team, but he's a player. He's a rotational player. He's a guy that could probably, and that's what you need in this draft. For me, you need to come away with guys who at least 3, 4, 5 productive players, or players that either starters or rotational pieces. Calvin Banks could be is a starter, right? If you plug him there, he's your left guard, right guard, whatever. Alfred Collins, starter, because you don't have anybody else next to Zach Steeler, but he could be there. Taylor, rotational piece. He's playing. Darian Strong, he's going to play, because at that point you don't have anybody else if you trade away Jalen Ramsey. Rotational piece. Logan Brown, if injuries happen, rotational. So that, to me, that's when you come away from the draft, you're like, okay, hey, we're getting some players who are going to play. And that's what Miami's talked about. Miami has talked about getting players. They don't want to hold their hand. We need guys. It's like, hey, we don't want to wait on them. They're going to have to start making impact right away. So, Coach, what's your thought process looking at this draft? Would you be happy with this draft if you came away with it after Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, we got 3 offensive linemen and 2 defensive linemen, so I get happy, and I am intrigued with Quinn Ewers, and the Mason Taylor pick is intriguing as well. So, and we got some cornerbacks who people tore me apart in my draft because I didn't take any cornerbacks. So,
Really?
Yeah, it's all good.
I see it coming. I'm peeking here and there, but I'm not looking. I did after when he was talking, I started thinking, I'm like, oh, coach, there was no corner there, but that's okay.
Yeah,
that's all right.
Well,
it happens. Maybe they sign Xavier Howard after the draft. It could happen.
That's right. They're going to bring Xavier back. There you go.
There you go.
No, I'd be happy with this.
Perfect. Yeah, I do want to say I traded back in the 4th round before I took JJ Pegas. I got a round 5 next year. With that trade back, just because there wasn't anything calling my eye out with that. So I was like, look, trade back, get another pick. And Anthony did have some questions in the chat. He made a comment about the Dorian Strong where I said his athleticism. I was just referring to his combine tape. Yeah, he showed athleticism on tape. I think the combine and tape showed 2 different things. That's why I mentioned, hey, I take tape over combine any day.
Yeah.
Kelvin Banks, I agree with you. I don't know if I would say that his feet are an issue for him to handle the edge. I think I see that with Will Campbell more than I see that with Kelvin Banks. But yeah, I think he's more ready to play tackle than anyone else in this draft. But I would move him to guard as well because I think he could be an all-pro guard at the next level.
Yeah.
He's good. If you watch him and he like runs out on a screenplay and he just levels a guy, like I fell in love with him after that. Like he'll put a hat on a guy and just take him out.
Especially those DBs. We like to.
Oh yeah, I love.
We like to smother those guys in the
ground. So.
All right, we're almost at the hour here. So, and it's Easter, so we won't stay too long. But I'll go ahead and get mine up here. And and forgive me, guys. I know that you guys are saying there's comments, and I'll try to peek at them. But I'm trying to focus on this too. All right. So there's my mock draft for this year with the Miami Dolphins. So I did make a trade as well. I made it with the Arizona Cardinals. Picked up pick 78, get in between the 48 and the 98. So I was able to move down to 16, and that was a struggle because I did not know, and I don't know if Jahdae Barron is actually going to be there. I see where he's flying up the boards. It's crazy that I had him, and I was like, man, am I crazy for grading him this high, or feeling that way about him? And now you kind of see, like you brought up Josh earlier, that he is flying up board, so he could be picked earlier than this. But as I researching, looking at team needs. Running multiple simulators while also looking at my stuff. I said, he was still there. So I go Barron here. And if Miami could come away with Barron either at 13 or 16, I'm jumping for joy, especially after the situation. Even before Jalen Ramsey, this was more than likely going to be my pick. And because I haven't been impressed with Cam Smith. But you get Jahdae Barron, who's done it all. He could be, you could play, be your primary, you'd be outside corner, you'd be your boundary corner, your slot corner, safety, high motor, versatile, violent, all over the field. When he tackles you, it's not some soft tackle. He's gonna wrap you up. 0 touchdowns, 5 INTs, only 284 yards allowed. Love this kid. Pick 48, going offensive line. This one, I kept plugging. I would plug Alfred Collins. I take Alfred Collins out. I took Norman Lott. I take Norman Lott out. I look at Tate Ratledge. I'm like, if you go by the simulator, you're like, oh, he's there at 78. Dylan Fairchild's there at 78. You got Savanea, who I like, but I think he might go. I think he's gonna go up a little higher. There's the center. I'm trying to remember his name too, from Georgia. A lot of people are high on. Anyway, for me, I had to go Tate Ratledge. I loved what I saw in film. Again, strong hands, quick feet, smart, mean, day one starter. He played right guard at Georgia. Again, you could put James Daniels at right guard, and you could put, or put James Daniels at left guard. You put Tate Ratledge at right guard. He has a look of a football player. He has everything that works in his favor. What are you going to say, Josh?
I'm just saying, I think the only thing hurting him is his injury history.
Yeah, yeah,
I think Tate Ratledge is massively underrated in this draft.
Yeah,
I
when
know.
he's in, he's a bulldog.
Yeah,
No,
he's
no pun
smart.
And that's
intended. That
why,
was no
and,
pun intended.
and
No
that's
pun
why
intended.
for me, like again, in a lot of mocks, right, because again, team needs my own scouting. You had a high grade him, I had a high grade on him. You had I believe a first round grade on him. I had a high, I think, I don't know what I had. I think a high second, maybe or a late first. I don't know what it was, but I like what I saw from him a lot. And I mean, you watch him, it's easy. And I like Fairchild too. I don't mind Fairchild, but like
No,
you were saying, injury history, whatever. A lot of mocks had him in that 78, 98 range. I was surprised to find him there. And of course, I could have said, okay, let's go based off the mock and roll that way. I think he's being underrated by. I think teams are going to see that he's high, that he's better than what he is. I know how Chris Greer feels about Georgia guys. I know about the injury history, and I know that screams Chris Greer. I'm happy with this pick if this is the pick at 48.
he's
I'm
so
rolling with
smart.
it.
Like you watch him pick up stunts, and it's just effortless. Like he understands like what he has to do in the stunt, passing off guys uh, to his tackle or center. Jared Wilson is the center, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, it's love
Yeah.
Tate Ratledge.
Go, Nate. We move on to 78. This is a pick I picked up in that trade with Arizona, and this is where I go D-line. Shamar Turner at a Texas A&M, productive 3-year starter, great motor, plays with violent edge, relentless and fast off the snap. Again, there's a lot of guys that I was plugging and taking out, and really, and I'm like, man, do I take a guy at 48 and then, and miss out on possibly a Tate Ratledge, who I don't think will be there at 78? Do I do that? And but the reality is, I think D tackle, there's going to be a lot of players that are closer together than most people think. And I think Shamar Turner could be a player that you could plug right next to Zach Sealer, and he's going to be a productive player in this league year one. This is a guy who, and again, I'm looking at guys who could hit the ground running day one. 98, tight end, Texas, my second Texas player. I had more than that as I was going crazy, but as I started getting more into it, I took some guys out. But Gunnar Helm, tight end, great size, could be a quarterback's best friend. Very can block on the run and the pass. So that's something that really caught my eye. I like the way he moved in blocking schemes. 60 receptions. He led the team. He had 786 yards, 7 touchdowns. This is a guy that I think he could do what our tight end room can do in regards of blocking. I think he offers you that. He's a complete kind of tight end, but also he's a guy that I think could eventually replace a Jonnu Smith if he was to leave after next year, if you don't extend him. But even if you keep him, you got then 2 tight end set. I'm happy with that. 116, Emory Jones, LSU offensive tackle, played 12 games at right tackle. You could move him to guard if you need to, but that's not what he did. But I think you can do that with him. And he's a good run blocker. Then you go on to Ollie Gordon. I don't know how much I've talked about Ollie Gordon throughout this process. I think he's being underrated. But again, running back is a deep class this year. There's going to be a lot of guys that I think they can go early. I think there's a lot of guys that you go, man, how the hell is this guy still on the board? Ollie Gordon could be that guy. Damian Martinez is another guy that I strongly considered with this pick. And I love Damian Martinez, obviously being a Miami guy. But Ollie Gordon, love his size, physical, powerful, downhill type back, can do it all. He could complement H in speed. Good receiving back as well. I like him. I think he's a player that he could be your first and second down type back, but also offer you things that Mike McDaniel loves in a running back. 150, somebody who jumped out on me when I was just going through receivers. I was watching Savion Williams, and we talked about that. Dante Thornton's a guy that popped up, and his name's misspelled there, so forgive me. But Dante Thornton from Tennessee, it's a guy that I was like, okay, I'm going to put him on. I like his size, but let me see how he looks. Holy crap. So we don't know what's happening with Tyreek Hill. We think because of the cap situation, he's more than likely going to stay put. However, you lose Tyreek Hill, you lose that speed. Plug in Thornton out of Tennessee. Elite speed. Not good, not great. Elite vertical threat. Could take the top off. His receive, you look at his production, you go, oh my, only 600 some odd yards, 6 touchdowns. I think that's what it was. But he's a barn burner. This is, Usain Bolt type of thing. When vertically, Josh, he'll burn you out. Why is he there? Why is he available at 150? What's the downside? Why does he only have 600 and some odd yards out of Tennessee? He's kind of like a one trick pony. Very limited route tree. Cuts to the, if you cut him to the left, if he has to break into a route, that's where he slows down. That's where you kind of catch him. But great size, 6'5", 205, elite speed, vertical threat, red zone threat. I liked a lot of the red zone catches I saw in the end zone. Love what he can do, how he can contort his body. I think he's a Tyreek insurance policy. I think he's one of those, like what do you call, like a hidden gem type of player that you could get later on in the draft and could shock you in the preseason and going into the season maybe later on. I double dipped that corner at 155. I'm a small school guy, Za Frazier, 6'3", 186. I love his size, but he's a productive corner out of UTSA. 6 INTs. He's tall, long, fast, 15 passes deflected. I think when, we think about Cam Smith, the question mark there, I think you have to, and especially with the corner room now being probably the weakest unit on the team, I think you have to go double dipping on corner in the secondary. So I went that route. Went double dipped on defensive line as well with Samian Barrow, defensive lineman out of Miami. Solid rotation option, athletic ability, stands out as a pass rusher. Then I went safety with Dante Trader out of Maryland, cover safety who could play nickel as well. Dual sport athlete, played lacrosse. And then, of course, finish with an edge rusher with Fidel Diggs out of Syracuse. He was a productive edge rusher, had 14 tackles for losses and 7.5 sacks to finish off. So get that edge rusher there because we don't know, Jalen Phillips is kind of like Tua in regards of not if, when he gets hurt, how long are you going to miss him? Because 2 years in a row, get 2 season-ending injuries. And Bradley Chubb probably on his last year. So I think some point in time in the draft, you got to go edge rusher to keep building up that insurance policy there. So, yeah, that is my Fins mock. So I open it to the floor there as I'll check the comments. But, Josh, your thoughts?
No, I like it. Getting the cornerback early. You know how I feel about Rutledge. Shamar Turner being that other end is going to be nice. Ollie Gordon could be intriguing just for the fact of he could kind of just be a weapon in the offense. So I kind of like him there as well. And I'm going to be honest. All the other people kind of throw me off. I haven't really seen them before. So.
So, okay, Coach?
Yeah, no, the first several I'm good with. I kind of agree with Josh in the fact that I think you've been able to get more guys studied than I have. But
I did start early. I did start a little early.
When it comes to me, the thing I look at for wide receivers obviously is, are they a size guy or a speed guy? And you
Thornton's both.
Yeah, and you kind of have covered that too. So I like Rutledge in the second for an offensive guard. I think you can step in right away and play. That's what we're looking for is some, how many of these guys can step in day one and be productive starters. So I think you've got a good mix there.
And I will say, and I'm going to get to the comments right now. Let me see here. Anthony, this is a perfect spot for Baron Bobby. Like I said, multiply. I'm not drafting a guy who's projected to be a slot at the next level at 15. I would take him at 13, brother. I would trade up to get him in the top 10 if he's falling. He's not projected to be a slot. He can do it all. That's the difference. He's a Swiss Army knife, but he is great at everything. But I appreciate that. Christopher Jones, I like.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. I'm sorry. I like Veron Trader and Diggs. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I do like Ollie Gordon at 135.
Oh yeah,
he was one that popped last year, and I thought was going to get a lot more love. I thought maybe he was going to enter the draft last year. So for you to be able to come away with Ollie Gordon at 135, I think is pretty big.
And that's the thing. If he would have came out last year, I think he goes way higher than this. I think he had a little bit of a drop off last year. I think that's why he kind of falls a little bit. Again, I think the running back position, just like the tackle position, defensive line, is a little clustered. That you're going to see some players not too far off from each other. That you're going to come there. You could come away with a very good running back at the mid rounds, like an Ollie Gordon or Martinez. Zay Frazier over Darian Strong. Darian Strong. I don't know where Darian Strong was at this, but yes, Saw Frazier's a guy that I kept seeing his name pop up, and I love looking at hidden gems, and I watched his stuff, and I started researching on him, and I love what I saw. I like the potential of this kid. I think at 155, they had him when I saw his name, he was in the 7th round. Okay, he was a guy who kept popping up late on the 7th round boards, and I was like, let me look this kid up. His size screams at me, and when I saw what he can do, I saw the numbers, but then I saw the film. I like it. So yeah, I had him over Darian Strong. I love the potential. I love the size. I know a lot of people are like, oh, if we lose Jalen Ramsey, we got to get a guy with size. That's not why I did it, but that when I saw it, that's what got me. But it doesn't hurt. And I think this is a kid that could be a productive player very fast for the Dolphins. I'm not going to say starter. Not saying that. I'm saying a guy that you could see on the field very early on and could give you some time. Elwood says I could see 4 starting material, maybe 6 players with Frazier and Gordon with this one. Let's see, I like Ratledge and Fairchild, but to me, the scheme they play at Georgia probably tells you that these guys are going to be power gap guys in the NFL, not zone. So I'm a little critical. Let's see here. Thornton has the size. Thornton 6'5", runs a 4.3. Absolutely. But yeah, so there you go, guys. There's our Miami Dolphins mocks. They're not perfect. Nothing ever is. We and the honest truth is, the truth is we could be like, oh, we definitely need to go this. Oh, that's an amazing mock. Oh, this, oh, that, or this is a terrible mock. And the Dolphins do something totally different.
Yeah.
And we're all in unison and going, what the hell? Which they're going to do. I've as much as I am like, oh my gosh, man, if we come away Baron, that's gonna be awesome, or Will Johnson or whomever, any of these guys. I'm kind of reserve myself to be like, with the acceptance that they're probably gonna go Za Frazier at 13. And as I like Za Frazier, but I'm probably like, you didn't have to get him there.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But anyway, we are about at the hour. I am on orders. Let me see very quick. Anthony Manzano, Bobby Josh Coach. I'm not sure if you guys agree with this comparison, but when I look at Gunnar Helm, he reminds me of Dallas Clark or Jason Witten. I'm not big on comparisons. So if the guys want to answer that, do you see that in a Gunnar Helm? Have you had a chance to look at Gunnar?
I have not watched Gunnar Helm.
I mean, yeah, I haven't watched it much, but if he turns out to be a Dallas Clark or who was the other one he said?
The great American tight end of all time. Are you kidding me? Who's the other one? Jason Witten.
Witten, yeah, my bad. I couldn't remember. I mean, if he turns out to be either of those guys, it's a home run, right?
So this is it. This is our last pre-draft show before the draft. My goodness, it's been a fun season of OTC. I love doing this show with these guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm already excited to go to 26. I'm
excited for 26, having more time, be able to watch the play.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why, when I started doing 25 a little early, and Josh was like, when I put the numbers in, as soon as he's like, we started talking about the next season of the show, and he sent me this stuff, and all of a sudden all these numbers followed. He's like, dude, what the hell? You said, my bad. Because I was so excited about last year. I was like already, because I'm watching throughout the year, and I had preseason, during the season, and then postseason of film that I was doing. So I'm going to do that again. I don't know how much I'll get done, but I love doing this, and I love doing this with you guys, and I love doing this show with everyone here, Scotty, Daniel, Chris, everyone who's tuned in, Anthony, Richard. There's been so many too, John, and those who've watched who've watched the show and in the comments today. But I enjoy doing this, and I enjoy talking draft and being wrong when it comes to players being drafted by me, and being right when guys that I loved and I'm banging the table for, and people are like, there's no way, and that guy is a killer. And I'll say it again, Braden Fisk. Yeah. All day, every day. That's my dude, man.
You called him out last year, and we all watched him, and I was like, I get it. I started jumping on that, and I you that's the kind of player you don't care where you take him.
You just take him.
Yeah.
Bo Nix for Josh. Bo Nix. That was the guy right there. You were banging the table on him. Coach Vogel with Jaden Daniels. That was his number one guy last year. And look what he did last year. So there's just different, it's just, this is so fun. And I just love doing this. And, I don't think that's why, I'm not a fan of calling a player a bust before he plays. I'm not a fan of saying somebody, oh, you're wrong, bro. You're an idiot. There's no way.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. This is all based off iPhone. It's what you think. It's how you feel. Yeah, like Anthony, oh, I don't know if this guy's this. That's Anthony's opinion. That's awesome. Daniel, Scotty's like, hey man, I have these 5 guys. I just don't know if I feel about this guy. That's awesome. Your perspective, your thought. We all see it differently. So guys, do me, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, hit that notifications bell. Don't forget the FTSN Pro Football Draft live coverage show starts Thursday night with Coach Wingate and myself. We will start it off. We're so excited about getting this rolling. Who's, we kind of figure who's going to be pick number 1, but hopefully praise the Lord. What are we doing?
I just have a request before we sign off.
Oh, okay, go
ahead. Before we sign off, I would love for us each to choose who's going to be the pick at 13, or just the first pick taken by Miami.
Oh, okay. So, who we think
throwing it at you.
Well, I think let's do that, and then on draft day, let's do that again as we see the draft falling. Okay, so Coach, who's the pick at 13?
I mean, it depends on who's there. I don't know who's
I know.
at 13.
But if you had to guess,
we're gonna roll with
team taken.
I'm gonna go. Is it Barron? That's who I think they'll go. I think they go
Jade Barron.
Yeah, Jade Barron.
I'll go. I think it's going to be Malachi Starks. I think they put a lot of effort into the safety position, but I don't think there's any player that can take away from drafting Malachi. Malachi, I think, could play both spots. So yeah, Malachi.
That's a good answer. I'm gonna roll with who I've been saying. Well, you know what? We all kind of went different. You guys went different. I love Barron, and that's my mock, and that's my guy. I'm down with that. You at Malachi Starks, I think it makes a lot of sense with Georgia. It could happen, even though you go, man, safety, but still, you could put him in the nickel. But I'll go different. I'm gonna say because of, first off, we need the position. It's different from Jade Barron, even though I want Barron, and there's injury history. I'm gonna go Will Johnson. I'll say Will Johnson right now, and then we'll go again. And again, I'm not gonna be pissed, but it's Will Johnson. But if it's banging the table for Jade Barron. But anyway, and yes, I will be back on here in just a few hours for our WrestleMania Night 2 preview show. I was on yesterday. I'm on again to recap Night 1 and preview Night 2 with Josh Kimmel. So, Coach,
Kimmel's punk, by the way. Let him know when you get on the show. I have issues with Josh Kimmel.
Straight up, I will tell him, dude. I have no issue telling him he's a punk. He's straight up punk.
Jeez.
His flowing hair and everything. Every show, either there's a ponytail or flowing hair. He's going like this, and during the show.
Trying to match him now. He tries to wear like polos now instead of like cut off sleeves.
Yeah, all of a sudden, now he's all. When you had him on when you guys did your show,
like cut off sleeves. Like we're a beer and sports podcast. He would drink water, and I'm like, what the hell?
He's so mess it all up.
Beer and water and sports.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Water sports. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. We appreciate you. We will be here live again, 8 p.m. Eastern time for the start of the NFL draft. As you're watching the draft, join us, react with us. And again, a chance at a gift card, Caneswear gift card, for get some cool Miami sports gear, Dolphins gear, or any Miami sports fan if you're a fan of any team.
If everyone has an opportunity to join that podcast later with Kimmel, just make sure you put Josh Kimmel, you're a punk in there. You're a punk in there.
There you go. There you go, Skunk Ape right there. I like Johnson at the measure because he has the measurables, but I like Barron better because of the injury. There you go. So we'll see a lot of that. There you go. Scotty wrote punk. So everyone can just pop on to the WrestleMania show at 4 o'clock Eastern time and just write Josh Kimmel's a punk. And I'll explain to Josh why that's happening. I would love to see his reaction. But anyway, thank you all for watching. We appreciate you guys. Like and subscribe. Happy Easter, and Dolphin fans, fins up. We'll see you guys Thursday night.
Heck yeah.